Phonode 11. Exercise 1. In recent units, we have practiced modals of obligation-compulsion. This is an exercise in transposing them from the present to the past. Put each of the sentences into the past, adding the words provided. Listen to this example of number 1. We have to go on the next day. We had to go on the next day. Now you do the same. Number 1. We have to go. We had to go on the next day. Number 2. He doesn't have to reset the exam. He didn't have to reset the exam last year. Number 3. I have to work late. I had to work late last night. Number 4. She doesn't need to cook anything. She didn't need to cook anything for lunch yesterday. Number 5. He must leave the room. He had to leave the room when the meeting started. Number 6. I must see the doctor. I had to see the doctor the day before yesterday. Number 7. We don't have to write an essay. We didn't have to write an essay last term. Number 8. He doesn't need to hand in his paper. He didn't need to hand in his paper until the end of last term. Number 9. They don't have to come. They didn't have to come last Thursday. Number 10. He must go at once. He had to go at once because it was urgent. Number 11. He must not enter the room. He was not allowed to enter the room since it was needed for the debate. Number 12. We must not smoke in class. We were not allowed to smoke in class when we were students. Number 13. They must sit in the correct booths. They had to sit in the correct booths for the test yesterday. (14) They don't have to take a driving test. They didn't have to take a driving test in the 60s. Number 15. We must take all relevant factors into consideration. We had to take all relevant factors into consideration in the last survey. 16. They must abide by certain conditions. They had to abide by certain conditions at that time. "17. We must not quote him. We couldn't quote him at the press conference yesterday. "18. We have to reduce the budget deficit. We had to reduce the budget deficit during the recent crisis. "19. We must not bring down interest rates. We couldn't bring down interest rates last year. Number 20. They must not plant their crops before the rains. They couldn't plant their crops before the rains last year. Exercise 2. Should, meaning it would be good to, is very common in spoken English. Respond to the following with questions containing should and the words provided. Listen to the example. You can't leave them here. Should I take them home? Now you do the same. Number 1. You can't leave them here. Should I take them home? Number 2. It's impolite to turn up just like that. Should I ask first? Number 3. Don't be discouraged. Should I try again? Number 4. Your radio isn't working properly. Should I return it to the shop? Number 5. I'm sure the train will be full. Should I take the bus? Number 6. How did you get in here? Should I have asked permission first? Number 7. Why do you still have those books? Should I have returned them to the library? Number 8. The door was locked. Should I have left it open? Number 9. I was extremely worried. Should I have got in touch? Number 10. Why did you buy such an expensive car? Should I have bought a cheaper model? Number 11. You gave up smoking too late. Should I have given up smoking earlier? Number 12. I'm afraid you've missed your connection. Should I have taken an earlier flight? Number 13. I had no idea what was going on. Should I have let you know? Number 14. Your behavior leaves a lot to be desired. Should I turn over a new leaf? Number 15. I'm afraid it's hopeless. Should I give up? End of exercise 2. Exercise 4. Vocabulary extension. Take the part of B in the following exchanges. Number 1. That remark is not the one to make at a time like this. You mean it's inappropriate? 2. What he thinks is of no importance and will have no effect. You mean it's immaterial? 3. He looks like everyone else and you wouldn't notice him. You mean he's inconspicuous? Number 4. He doesn't work well and wastes his time. You mean he's inefficient? 5. He's well known for his crimes. You mean he's infamous? Exercise 5. Interview.
I can remember a man, he came before me, and he'd only just come out of prison. I mean, he'd only been out of prison for 2 or 3 months. And he lived in a very small town. His family was there, his wife and children, and his old mother.
Yes.
Now, everybody knew everybody else in that town, and in other words, everybody knew where he'd been,
He'd been to prison.
Nobody at all wanted to give him a job, naturally. And the trouble he'd been in was that he'd broken into somebody's house, and had taken some money, which was quite a serious thing to do, really. And he'd actually been seen leaving the house. So, now when he came before me, I found out a lot about the man. He had actually tried. He tried really very hard to get a job.
Yes.
But he couldn't. He said he'd broken into the house in order to get some money. He said he didn't have enough money to feed his family.
Do you think that was true? Do you think that's why he really did it?
But he'd broken into the house to get money to feed his family?
Yes.
Because his family was hungry now. I shouldn't think so at all. No, I think he did it because, well, in a strange way, he wanted to get caught. Yeah, he wanted to be sent back to prison. I mean, he knew that in prison, he wouldn't have the same problems he had outside. Nobody would look down on him because he'd been in prison.
Not in prison, no.
He wouldn't feel that there was no place for him. He wouldn't have to worry about food or money either. And you know, when I heard the man's case, I couldn't help asking myself a question. What would you have done if you'd been in that man's place?
What would you have done? What would you have done if you'd been in his
very
place?
possibly, I suppose, I would have done just what he did. I would have broken into that house too, I suppose. At least, I think I might have done that. I would have felt very tempted to do that. Yes? If I'd been in his place, and if I'd felt that everybody looked down on me, that there was no chance that I'd ever get a job, I think I would have done the same thing myself.
What finally happened to the man? I mean, what did you do with him?
I mean, what sort of sentence did I give him? What punishment did I give him?
Punishment did you give him?
Well, I sent him back to prison. After all, what else could I have done? What would you have done? If you'd been in my position, the man had broken the law again, he had been in prison before, and he'd definitely stolen the money. There's no doubt about that.
Now listen and repeat. Phonode 12. Exercise 1. Listen to the following sentences, and then make additional sentences using should have and the words provided. Listen to this example. Number 1. Why didn't you go to see the film? You should have gone to see the film because it was excellent. Now you do the same. Number 1. Why didn't you go to see the film? You should have gone to see the film because it was excellent. Two. Why didn't you telephone me? You should have telephoned me because I was waiting for your call. Three. Why didn't you attend the lecture? You should have attended the lecture because it was very interesting. Four. Why didn't he come at once? He should have come at once because I told him to. Five. Why didn't they come to the party? They should have come to the party because they were invited. Six. Why didn't they bring their sheets? They should have brought their sheets because we're going to have a test. Seven. Why didn't you tell me about it? You should have told me about it because I would have been able to help you. 8. Why didn't he lock the door? He should have locked the door because he had the only key. 9. Why didn't we come in one car? We should have come in one car because there are only 4 of us. 10. Why didn't you come home early? You should have come home early because there was a good film on the TV. 11. Why didn't you pay the phone bill? You should have paid the phone bill because it was due to be paid last week. 12. Why didn't he wash the dishes? He should have washed the dishes because it was his turn. "13. Why didn't they stay with us?" They should have stayed with us because we had plenty of spare room. 14. Why didn't you get in touch? You should have got in touch because we were worried about you. "15. Why didn't you slow down?" You should have slowed down because there were children about. End of exercise 1. Exercise 2. Have got to is common instead of have to. It is abbreviated to gotta in slang, or gotta in American slang. Fill the blanks in the following with have, has got to, or doesn't, don't have to. Number 1. His bike is broken. He repair it. His bike is broken. He's got to repair it. Two. He passed the exam last year. He resit it. He passed the exam last year. He doesn't have to resit it. Three. I'm in a hurry. I be there by 8. I'm in a hurry. I have got to be there by 8. 4. It's not going to rain. You bring your umbrella. It's not going to rain. You don't have to bring your umbrella. 5. This record is on loan. I return it soon. This record is on loan. I've got to return it soon. Six. I'm worried about the money. I pay it back next week. I'm worried about the money. I've got to pay it back next week. Seven. We have an excellent maid. My wife do any cooking. We have an excellent maid. My wife doesn't have to do any cooking. 8. There's plenty of food. You do any shopping? There's plenty of food. You don't have to do any shopping. 9. I'm working hard on my essay. I hand it in tomorrow. I'm working hard on my essay. I've got to hand it in tomorrow. 10. He's in a terrible rut. He make a move. He's in a terrible rut. He's got to make a move.
End of exercise 2. Exercise 3. Vocabulary extension. Take the part of B in the following exchanges. Number 1. He says one thing 1 minute and something quite different the next. You mean he's inconsistent? 2. That remark has no connection with what we are discussing. You mean it's irrelevant? 3. She does exactly what she wants and doesn't care about anyone else's wishes. You mean she's inconsiderate? 4. He just doesn't know how to do his job properly. You mean he's incompetent? 5. He finds it very difficult to express himself. You mean he's inarticulate? Exercise 5. Listen to the following interview in which an advertising man talks about his work.
It's very often said that advertising is a form of lying.
Oh, really?
Yes, that people are paid to tell lies.
Well, I would say that people are certainly paid to make investments. I wouldn't exactly say that they're paid to tell lies.
Well, let me give you an example. A film star says that she uses a particular beauty soap every morning. It keeps her complexion beautiful. But of course she never uses that soap at all. She's only saying it because she's been paid to say it.
Oh, well, that's true, but then she's an interesting person, you see.
But it's still a form of lying.
Well, I'm hard to define it as lying.
Well,
I will say this, though, that personally I don't really enjoy making such adverts.
you don't enjoy writing them.
No.
Why not? Because they're lies.
Well, no, I didn't really admit there were lies, but no, the reason that I don't enjoy them is that they're not really challenging enough.
They're not challenging enough.
No, I mean, they're really so simple to write. They almost write themselves.
You just get the girl, the film star, to say something, and that's all you have to do.
That's right, really.
Well, then, could you give me an example of an advertisement that you do enjoy writing, or that you have enjoyed writing?
Yes, I can. I mentioned the word challenging just now. Now, I'll give you a good example. For instance, I had to do an advertisement for life insurance. Now, essentially, life insurance is concerned with death.
Yes.
With providing for the family's needs if the head of the family should die.
Yes.
But you can't use the word death in an advertisement.
Why not?
Well, if you want to advertise anything, if you want to advertise something successfully, you can't mention things that are unpleasant to the person who's reading or listening to the advert.
You can't make that person unhappy.
No, you can't. So, you've got to get across the idea of death, but you've not really got to mention the word.
You can't mention it. Yeah.
No. So, this, obviously, life insurance itself isn't very interesting, so you've got to capture the attention of the people who are reading the advert. So, what I did was, I got a family photograph. Wife, husband, 2 young children, walking in the park, arm in arm. Then, I had the figure of the man removed from the photograph, but I left the outline so that you could see where he'd been. You could, in fact, see that he was missing.
I see.
From the photograph.
Just a white outline of a man, but no man.
That's right. Now, what I then did was to put this caption at the top of the photograph. What would happen to your family if suddenly you weren't there anymore? Then, at the bottom of the photograph, I put this. We will take care of them if anything should happen to you. Then the name of the life insurance company.
So they knew who to go to.
That's right. Now, that sort of advert, I found challenging.
And you didn't have to tell any lies.
Now listen and repeat.
Phonode 13. Exercise 1. Unlike should have,
which implies that the action didn't take place, needn't have implies that it did. Listen to the following statements. Then make additional sentences using needn't have. Number 1. I was going to clean the car myself. You needn't have cleaned it. Number 2. She was going to cook the dinner herself. You needn't have cooked it. Number 3. He wanted to pay the bill. You needn't have paid it. Number 4. I was going to tell him about it. You needn't have told him about it. Number 5. They were ready to do it for you. You needn't have done it. Number 6. He was going to buy that record. You needn't have bought it. Number 7. They were going to bring the guests home. You needn't have brought them home. Number 8. He was going to invite her himself. You needn't have invited her. Number 9. They had ordered a taxi to pick them up at the airport. You needn't have picked them up at the airport. Number 10. My brother was going to see to it. You needn't have seen to it. Number 11. Why did you take exception to his remark? It was quite innocent. You needn't have taken exception to his remark. Number 12. Why were you sarcastic? It wasn't her fault. You needn't have been sarcastic. Number 13. Why did you take umbrage at his remark? He didn't mean it. You needn't have taken umbrage at his remark. Number 14. Why did he flare up over such a trivial matter? He needn't have flared up over such a trivial matter. Number 15. Why did you make such a song and dance about it? You needn't have made such a song and dance about it. End of exercise 1. Exercise 2. Indirect speech transforms verbs from present forms into past or removed forms. Transform the following, beginning with the words provided. Number 1. I go there every weekend. He said that he went there every weekend. Number 2. Have you finished the exercise? asked them if they had finished the exercise. Number 3. Where are you going? He inquired where they were going. Number 4. We can have as many as we like. They told us that we could have as many as we liked. Number 5. I'll see you tomorrow. He yelled that he would see them on the next day. Number 6. What's the point? He wondered what the point was. Number 7. You must leave at once. He informed me that I had to leave at once. Number 8. They ought to have brought their sheets. He complained that they ought to have brought their sheets. Number 9. You must not smoke here. He told us that we were not allowed to smoke there. Number 10. Are you with us or against us? He asked me if I was with them or against them. Number 11. Is there any food left? I asked them if there was any food left. Number 12. How many mistakes are there? He wanted to know how many mistakes there were. Number 13. When will you see them? She asked me when I would see them. Number 14. Can you do it for me? He asked me if I could do it for him. Number 15. Do you need any help? They asked me if I needed any help. End of exercise 2. Exercise 4. Vocabulary extension. Take the part of B. Number 1. Once you make that promise, you can never take it back. You mean it'll be irrevocable? Number 2. It was bound to happen. You couldn't stop it. You mean it was inevitable? Number 3. He always behaved like that. You can't change him now. You mean he's incorrigible? Number 4. The damage will be very great. It's impossible to say how great. You mean it would be incalculable? Number 5. This plan could never be carried out. You mean it's impracticable? End of exercise 4. Exercise 5. Interview. First, listen.
You're a writer, sitting at home in front of a typewriter. Doesn't seem a very job to many people. I mean, most people don't think writing looks easy job. Doesn't like working in a bank, for example. But what do you enjoy about your work? Oh, I'm not sure, but I do enjoy it. It can be a very easy job. Very frustrating sometimes. Sitting in front of a typewriter all day, just waiting for ideas to come. But there must be some things about your work that you enjoy. Oh, yes, of course there are. Like going into a shop and seeing the finished product. The book itself, seeing it, reviewing it, and travel, I travel a lot. Meeting people, talking to them. When I wrote the book on the Titanic disaster, for example, I must have interviewed at least 100 people, some of them actual survivors of the disaster. They were very, very interesting people. Well, I'm a supermarket manager. Now, a lot of people think that being a supermarket manager is a pretty lonely job. They think you work with figures all day, and you worry about the price of things like butter. But it isn't like that at all. What is it like, then? Well, working with figures is part of my job, of course. But only a very small part. A lot of my job involves dealing with people and keeping people happy. Well, customers? No, not just customers. Of course, they come into it. What I really meant was the staff. The people who work in the supermarket. I have to keep them happy. Listen to their problems, you know. What else would you like about it? The job? I think really I like the sense of responsibility. I like feeling that I'm the boss, at least in the supermarket. And quite honestly, I don't really like taking orders from other people. But you don't do it in the supermarket? I don't do it. I'm only a manager. But it's a pretty big firm. Head office doesn't bother me very much. They're interested in seeing that the place makes a profit, of course. And they tell me most of the prices I have to charge. But I believe they give most of their wages a pretty fair hand.
Part 3. A factory worker.
What sort of work do you do? Factory work, assembly line. What sort of work exactly? Well, it's mostly assembling refrigerators, changing it. Well, it's a job, isn't it? Tell me about it. Well, there's anything to say. I mean, when the refrigerator comes along, I put the door on, I put in a few screws, then another refrigerator comes along, I'll do the same thing all over again. What's the best part of the week for you? What are the things you look forward to doing? Getting paid on Friday, having a good time on the weekend, watching football on Saturday, and on Sundays I play football myself. That's the best part of the week for me. Playing football on Sundays is the best part? Yeah, that's right. Why? Well, it's different, yeah. I mean, playing football isn't like working on the assembly line.
Now listen and repeat.
You're a writer, sitting at home in front of a typewriter. Doesn't seem like a real job to many people. Most people don't think writing looks easy job. like working in a bank, for example. But what do you enjoy about your work? Oh, I'm not sure, but I do enjoy it, you know. It can be a very lonely job, a very frustrating one sometimes. Sitting in front of a typewriter all day, just waiting for ideas to come. But there must be some things about your work that you enjoy. Yes, of course there are. Like going into a shop and seeing a finished product. The book itself seems very learned.
Comportement occulte des chancelleries. Je vous dirai tout de suite que je n'ai aucun moyen de trancher entre ces diverses hypothèses et que, pour ma part, je considère que l'historicité de l'épuisement du thème, si j'ose dire, du topos, est tout autre. Je veux dire que si l'on assiste à l'épuisement du thème, c'est que les écrivains ne sauraient alors s'intéresser aux problèmes qui sont ceux du pouvoir. Reste à savoir pourquoi, d'où la partie positive de ma conclusion. C'est paradoxalement au moment où la littérature expulse doublement l'histoire, en l'occurrence celle de Grenade, autrement dit l'histoire comme cadre, et celle de la France, autrement dit l'histoire conçue comme le tissu dans lequel les personnages sont pris, ce qui semblait se passer dans la période précédente évoquée par Ali Abakar, que l'histoire est la plus présente. Car c'est incontestable, cette double disqualification ne peut se concevoir sans que soit aussi dénoncé un certain état de la société. L'amertume prétendument métaphysique n'étant en réalité que le fruit de la déconvenue sociopolitique qui, dès les années 1670 et a fortiori en 1696, s'est emparée des esprits. Mais une autre leçon peut être tirée de cette enquête. C'est fini. Elle concerne la définition de l'inter- ou hypertextualité. Aux éléments précédemment évoqués, éventuelle subversion et inconscience dans laquelle s'opère le passage, on peut en effet ajouter l'idée du dialogue à trois voix. La troisième, et non la moindre, étant en l'occurrence celle de la princesse de Clèves, dont on n'a jamais souligné la parenté avec le grand Cyrus. La démonstration ne peut pas en être faite ici, qu'il nous suffise pour l'instant de signaler, et sur le plan théorique, l'émergence de cette troisième voie, et sur le plan pratique, l'intérêt de ce court récit, dont on ne pourra plus désormais dire, me semble-t-il,
Phonode 14. Exercise 1. Combine the following pairs of sentences into one sentence, beginning if. Number 1. You could come tomorrow. I'd help you. If you came tomorrow, I'd help you. Right. 2. We could ask her. She might cook us some dinner. If we asked her, she might cook us some dinner. 3. He could pay more. He'd get better service. If he paid more, he'd get better service. 4. He could work harder. He'd pass easily. If he worked harder, he'd pass easily. 5. He could be more straightforward. He'd get on better. If he were more straightforward, he'd get on better. 6. They should have more sense. They wouldn't be in such a mess. If they had more sense, they wouldn't be in such a mess. 7. We could let you know. Would you be able to do anything about it? If we let you know, would you be able to do anything about it? 8. We could walk there. We would arrive in plenty of time. 'If we walked there, we would arrive in plenty of time. 9. He should make more effort. He might become a great man. 'If he made more effort, he might become a great man. 10. She should write to them at once. They might offer her a job. 'If she wrote to them at once, they might offer her a job. 11. I might go on my own. I probably wouldn't enjoy myself. If I went on my own, I probably wouldn't enjoy myself. They should teach us how to solve these problems. We'd be better off. If they taught us how to solve these problems, we'd be better off. You could telephone them. You'd cheer them up a lot. If you telephoned them, you'd cheer them up a lot. That legislation could be introduced. It would have adverse repercussions. If that legislation were introduced, it would have adverse repercussions. They could withdraw their representatives. It would make a bad impression. If they withdrew their representatives, it would make a bad impression. It could be hushed up. No one would be any the wiser. If it were hushed up, no one would be any the wiser. They should be properly informed. They'd have no excuse. If they were properly informed, they'd have no excuse. He might become Chancellor. He would cut income tax. If he became Chancellor, he would cut income tax. I could be Home Secretary. I'd crack down on tax evasion.
If I were Home Secretary, I'd crack down on tax evasion.
You might get rich. You'd hoard your money like a miser. If you got rich, you'd hoard your money like a miser. End of exercise 1. Exercise 2. Could have implies that the action didn't in fact take place. Make additional sentences using the phrases provided and could have for the following. Number 1. Why didn't you come with us? You could have come with us because we had 2 spare places. Why didn't you pay the bill? You could have paid the bill because you had enough money. Why didn't he say so? He could have said so because he knew about it all along. Why didn't they see the movie? They could have seen the movie since it was on all week. Five. Why didn't she get a cheaper ticket? She could have got a cheaper ticket because she's a student. Six. Why didn't he think of that? He could have thought of that because it's so obvious. Seven. Why didn't you telephone us? You could have telephoned us because we were in all evening. Eight. Why didn't they finish the essay? They could have finished the essay because they had plenty of time. Nine. Why didn't they tell us about it? They could have told us about it because we were there at the time. Ten. Why didn't he buy some food? He could have bought some food because he knew we needed some. End of exercise 2. Exercise 3, vocabulary extension. Take the part of B in the following exchanges. Number 1. That was when the city was rich, powerful, and famous. You mean that was when it was in its heyday? 2. Everyone was milling around making a terrible din. You mean there was quite a hubbub? 3. Those mountain roads have many sharp turns on them. You mean they zigzag?
Number 4. His ideas were all mixed up and confused. You mean they were a hodgepodge? Number 5. He was carrying all his things on his back. You mean in a rucksack? Exercise 5. Interview.
One married woman is interviewed about her feelings towards woman's lib.
Are you a militant leader in woman's lib?
No, certainly not. I enjoy being a woman. I enjoy dressing in a feminine way.
Mm. So you wouldn't go out and blow your bra?
No, certainly not.
Why not?
I'm not an extremist. I think there have to be extremists in any movement.
But you're not one yourself.
No, I'm not. I think there's a lot to be said for being a woman in the old-fashioned sense of the word. I think it's fun to be a woman. I think it's fun to dress in pretty clothes and to be wearing.
Mm-hmm. But you wouldn't want only to be a woman in this sense.
No, I think a woman should be allowed to choose to follow any pursuit she wants. I think if she wants any job, I think if she wants to go out and take a job, she should be able to. I know one man, for instance, whose wife does want to go out and earn some money, and he obviously does feel threatened by this. He wants to see his wife sitting at home and looking after the children. He wants to see the house looking tidy and the toys put away when he comes home. If she goes out to work, she will probably come home tired, possibly later than her, and he is going to come back to a disorganised house. In fact, it will probably end up with him having to sweep the floor and cook the meal himself because she's too tired.
How does he feel threatened? Does he feel threatened as a man in any way?
Yes, I think he does, because his whole way of life is providing for his family, and if his wife is going to do it, he's going to be redundant, or he's going to feel redundant.
He's going to feel that there's no reason for him to go on existing.
Yes, I think this is very sad. I think there are great possibilities for many women who feel they can work together and provide jointly for their family.
Each making full use of their own individual talents.
Yes, absolutely. And I think this is much healthier for the children as well. If they see their... It must be it's very unfortunate to see children being reared in families where the mother is dissatisfied and probably rather bored and frustrated.
Dissatisfied because she has to stay at home.
Yes.
And when she has talents that she could make use of.
Yes.
Yes.
But I think the pressures of the women's liberation movement are very, very strong, and they're making...
The pressures of the women's movement.
Yes, and the publicity that the movement is given.
This is affecting women.
It is affecting women very much, and they are becoming dissatisfied, and they are looking at themselves in a different light, and beginning to wonder whether perhaps they've been pushed into a role they really don't want.
Now listen and repeat. Phonode 15. Exercise 1. Needn't have, unlike should have, implies that the action did in fact take place. Listen to the following sentences, and then make additional sentences using needn't have or should have, depending on whether the action did or did not take place. Number 1. I hear you wash the dishes. That was unnecessary. You needn't have washed the dishes. 2. I hear you didn't finish the work. I wanted you to. You should have finished the work. 3. I hear you haven't seen the film. It's excellent. You should have seen the film. 4. They say he's bought a new car. His old one was perfectly all right. He needn't have bought a new car.